Today, we're going to tackle one of the most argued about and honestly most misunderstood parts of the US Constitution, the Electoral College. But look, this isn't about taking a side in a political fight. Nope, we're going to go back to the beginning and look at its original design to really understand it as a piece of constitutional engineering, like a machine built to do a very specific job. The source material for this kicks off with a really powerful idea that just sets the stage perfectly. It asks us to stop thinking about the Constitution as, well, as a feeling or a slogan, but instead to see it as a mechanism, a machine with gears and levers. And this gets right to the heart of it. This machine wasn't built by optimists. It was built by realists, maybe even cynics who just assumed the worst about human nature. They designed a system that was meant to withstand all of our worst impulses. And that right there, that's what this is all about. The whole point here isn't to figure out how to fix the machine, it's just to understand the original blueprints before we start trying to tinker with it. Okay, so let's really get into it. This is the big question for us today. The founders built this thing, this machine, to pick a president. So, what was the instruction manual? How was it actually supposed to run? And somewhere along the line, what went wrong? So, where do you even start? Well, the founders didn't begin with the question we'd expect. They didn't ask, who's the best person to be president? They started with a much, much more dangerous question. Who should get to choose the president? Because they knew whoever holds that power, well, they hold the keys to the entire country. And of course, the first thing that pops into your head, and theirs, is why not just let the people vote directly? A national popular vote. It seems so simple. But they thought about it, and they rejected it. And the reasons why tell you a ton about the world they were living in. Now, what's really interesting here is that this wasn't about them distrusting the people's intelligence. It was about the reality of their time. I mean, think about it. There's no national news, no internet, no TV. Information travels at the speed of a horse. They were terrified that some smooth-talking demagogue, or worse, an agent from another country, could just ride into a few towns, stir up passions, and trick people into voting for them before anyone else knew what was happening. It was about vulnerability. Okay, so if a direct popular vote is out, what's plan B? Well, the next logical choice is to just let Congress pick the president. And for a while, this was actually the leading idea. But the more they thought about it, the more they realized it might be even more dangerous. And here's why that was a no-go. The separation of powers. It was everything to them. If Congress chose the president would basically work for Congress. They'd owe them everything. The executive branch would just get swallowed by the legislative branch, and that whole beautiful system of checks and balances would just, poof, fall apart. That idea is so critical that, to this day, the Constitution explicitly bans any member of Congress from being an elector. So the two most obvious options were off the table. A direct vote was too risky, and letting Congress choose was a disaster waiting to happen. They needed something totally new, something brilliant. And what they came up with was this idea of an elector, designed to be a kind of human firewall. And this is the absolute key to the whole original design. An elector wasn't supposed to be a loyal party member. They weren't a rubber stamp. They were meant to be a temporary, independent citizen whose only job was to use their own brain and their own judgment. They were a final filter, a last line of defense to stop a corrupt or dangerous person from getting into office. And the design here was just beautiful in its simplicity. First, the electors would only meet once, and they'd meet in their own states. Why? To keep them from gathering in one place where they could be bribed or pressured. Second, they were supposed to vote using their own wisdom. And third, and this is the genius part, they would just go home. They'd disappear back into private life. No political career, no ongoing power, nothing. They were just a safeguard that would appear when needed and then vanish. But here's where the story takes a sharp, dramatic turn. This carefully built machine, this human firewall, it was about to get completely hijacked. And the crazy part is, it didn't happen because someone changed the Constitution. It happened because of the one thing the founders didn't really plan for, the rise of political parties. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's incredible. The original idea of independent judgment got swapped out for absolute party loyalty. The idea of a secret ballot to protect them from pressure, that got replaced with public pledges to a candidate. The human firewall, it just became a pipeline for the party's choice. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? The words written in the Constitution, they're still there. The structure, the form, it's all still there. But the function, what it actually does, has been completely hollowed out by how we practice politics. The machine is sitting there, but we're using it for something it was never, ever designed to do.
So this brings us to the whole point of this explainer. Before we can have any kind of real conversation about fixing or getting rid of or keeping the Electoral College, we first have to understand what it was supposed to be and what it's turned into.
Now, let's just sit with this for a second. This is a pretty bold claim from our source. It goes against the common idea that the whole system was just a bad design from the very beginning. And here's the punchline. The argument isn't that the machine was broken. The argument is that someone else, political parties mostly, came along, seized the controls, and started using it for their own purposes. They didn't break it, they captured it. So what did that capture actually look like? Well, political parties swapped out judgment for pure loyalty. Big money replaced independence with a sense of obligation, and thoughtful deliberation got drowned out by media spectacle. The elector, who was designed to be a guardian, became little more than a messenger. The firewall was taken down, brick by brick. And this is exactly why this history matters so much. It's not just trivia. If you don't understand what a safeguard was built to protect you from, you won't even notice when it's gone. You might even help trade it away, thinking you're making things better, when you're actually losing something vital. And we're going to end with this last, really provocative thought. The idea here is that the real failure wasn't in the machine itself, but that we, as a country, lost the owner's manual. And that leaves us with a pretty tough question. How can we possibly hope to fix a system if we don't even remember how it was supposed to work in the first place?